Okay, are we ready to go? I think we are. Good morning, everyone. It's time to rise and shine. Time to get up. Let's go to work. Okay? Really, seriously, it's time to go to work. Okay? So let's get it done. Let's get it.
We change the world in history right here where we're from. It's new beginning to you and me, cause we're not done. In our city, in our city, in our city, we're not done. I'll be like that.
Okay, it's time to rise and shine, everybody. It's time to get up because it is Monday. That's right, Monday. Now we got an exciting show today. At least I'm. That's what I'm calling it anyway. I'm calling it exciting. Anyway, good morning to you. It's beautiful out. It's not too hot this morning. Right now, I'll tell you what the temperature is later on. Okay, it's well, according to this thing, this can't be right. It can't be 83 degrees already. No, it's 72 degrees outside this morning. And I'm telling you, it is a fantastic day. But I always say any day above ground is better than the ground being above you. Okay. So good morning. Of course, now next up, of course, is our next feature is our daily bread, of course, because that's where we get our strength from. And and I hope most of you this morning decided to tell the Lord, thank you for another day, because it certainly did not have to be. So let's never forget that none of these days are necessarily promised to us, are they? No, they're not. No, they're not. That you have to, and you can't do nothing to extend them. And now you can do some things to shorten them, but you really can't do anything to extend those days. So let us get our act together here, and let us now where's my thing here? Where's okay? Okay, there's my computer's messing with me again. I don't know why, but it is. Okay, so where's our daily bread? Anybody know where it's at? It's on there someplace. Okay, I'm thinking it's there someplace. So let me make sure I get it right quick here, because for some reason my computer is not liking me this morning for some reason. But that's okay. I will handle this like I already do. Okay. So let me figure out where my daily bread went, and we shall get this party started. Okay, let's get that done. Get that done. Okay, let's go to comments. Okay, we got all those right there. Let's go to media. We got all those there. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm coming, guys. See that? I got up early this morning and put all this stuff together. It must be the devil. He must don't want me to do this morning. Okay, so we are going to hold on a second. Just hold on. I don't know why this thing is giving me the blues this morning, and always right at our daily bread thing here. I don't understand this. Okay, so we got the sounds there. Okay, we got that. We got everything we're supposed to have. Okay, can I change that? Yeah, I got that. Y'all just hang loose for a second here. I got this thing working here, but I don't know why it's giving me the blues. Okay. It's a tough morning already this morning. Just got here. But I got this covered. I got it under control. Now, just in case you guys were wondering, it is the 29th. Believe it or not, it is the 29th day of September 2025. It is one more day that has never been. And it is a day that once it is gone, it will never, ever be again. It is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and once it's over, you don't get a do-over. You don't get it back. You don't get to summon it from the past. You don't get to come back and do all the things that you should do this day that you don't. And more importantly, you don't get a chance to come back to do the things that you should have done that you didn't. And you can't undo the things that you've done. So what it is that you do with this day, September the 29th, 2025, make sure that tomorrow should be. You'll be proud of what you have done on this day. Okay? So next up, it is our daily bread, because we have to get it done. We got to get it done. Okay? And then we'll come back with other things. Okay? We got an ODB, our daily bread. So hang loose, and we'll be back. I got to take myself out of the picture because I'm not important in this one. Okay? So hang loose. We'll be right back. All right, our daily bread's coming right up.
Thanks for joining us for today's edition of the Our Daily Bread devotional. I'm Amy Boucher-Pye, and I called today's reading A Humble Posture. Keep your hands behind your back. You'll be fine. That's the loving admonition Jan's husband always gave before she ventured off to speak to a group. When she found herself trying to impress people or seeking to control the situation, she'd adopt this posture because it put her in a teachable, listening frame of mind. She used it to remind herself to love those before her and to be humble and available to the Holy Spirit. Jan's understanding of humility is rooted in King David's observation that everything comes from God. In Psalm 16, David said to God, "You are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing." He learned to trust God and seek his counsel. Even at night, my heart instructs me. He knew that with God next to him, he'd not be shaken. He didn't need to puff himself up because he trusted in the mighty God who loved him. As we look to God each day, asking him to help us when we feel frustrated or to give us words to speak when we feel tongue-tied, we'll see him at work in our lives. We'll partner with God, as Jan says, and we'll realize that if we've done well, it's because God has helped us flourish. We can look at others with love, our hands clasped behind our backs in a posture of humility to remind us that everything we have comes from God. Today's Our Daily Bread scripture passage is Psalm 16. Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you I have no good thing. I say of the holy people who are in the land, they are the noble ones in whom is all my delight. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. I will not pour out libations of blood to such gods or take up their names on my lips. Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night my heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful ones see decay. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Let's pray. Loving God, our hearts are glad and our tongues rejoice. You created the world and all that is within it. You love us and you want to use us for your glory. Help us to look to you for strength and help as we serve you this day. We pray in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thanks for listening. I'm Amy Boucher Pye, and today's encouragement was provided by Our Daily Bread Ministries.
And next up, of course, it is we pay homage to all of our armed forces of the United States, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, and anybody else who's out there. Hey, the mayor said one day, if you think you're a vet, then I guess you must be a vet. He was new in office, and so I'm sure he's taking that back. Go Notre Dame. And roll. Notre Dame didn't have a problem. They played a high school team. Good morning, Montgomery. Good morning. And good morning, Maxwell and Gunner Air Force Base. After all, this is an Air Force town, and we got to pay homage to the boys in blue. Although they are kind of uppity sometimes. They get to fly airplanes. I've been flying in plenty of airplanes. Not the last 30 years, but I think so. You know I don't fly airplanes. I don't trust the video time. I get on a 141 or a C5 or something like that, or C-120, C-180. I ain't getting on civilian airplanes. Nah, Not me. And a C-141. Oh, yeah.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First we fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States of
Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Space Force, and of course, I still ain't figured out what Space Force does. Can somebody please tell me? Well, 'cause I don't know what they do. I mean, I know they. Okay, let's stop that. We can stop that. Can somebody out there please tell me what Space Force does that the Air Force doesn't? Okay, I think that was okay. That's one of those boneheaded moves that the president did because I mean, it's the same service. Okay, unless they got a bunch of secret stuff, like I don't know. They may have. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, maybe they go to Mars sometimes and things of that nature that we don't know anything about. Okay. Other than that, though, I don't know what the hell Space Force does. I mean, can somebody tell me? Is there anybody out there that's ever been in Space Force since it's been around? What 3 or 4 years now? I don't know what it is. Somebody tell me what they do. I mean, I know we're paying them, but I don't really know what they do. Anyway, good morning to you. It's time to rise. It's, coming up at 8:00. We got Dr. Will Board, guys running for the governorship of the state of Alabama. Black man. I've heard him speak. I know a little bit about him, but not a whole lot. He's a preacher and a businessman. I don't know what his business is, but I know he's a pastor. Sometimes I wonder about putting pastors in public office. That because they have to carry out things that are against what we say we believe. And like the gay thing, like the death penalty. Okay, the death penalty. Actually, the Bible does not prohibit the death penalty. It says, I guess, the government has a right to use the sword. I guess, but I'm against it. But I don't know about them. The gay marriage thing. I mean, how can you be a pastor and then still carry out those kinds of laws that that are not necessarily good for us, But I don't know. But I'm not a pastor, and I'm not gay yet, so I guess I'm good. Anyway, good morning to you. Now it's Monday. It's Monday, so I got my little thing I got to play for you guys here. This is something I call this something to think about. Okay, because these are things. And then once we get done with this, we will get on to some interesting conversation. Don't forget, our sponsor of our show, of course, is One Stop Wireless at 3445 Atlanta Highway, right in the gas station on the corner of Atlanta Highway and Coliseum Boulevard. For all your phone needs. If you got a phone in the house, you ain't had it on for a couple of years, because you didn't pay the bill, well, they can actually turn your phone on for you. Okay, you need to take it down there. No sense having that iPhone stuck there because you didn't pay the bill, so they turned it off. They can get it back on for you. I'm just telling you, they can do it. Trust me, I know. Anyway, so One Stop Wireless, 3445 Atlanta Highway. Their phone number is 334-320-2988. You can't miss it. They're right there at the Shell station. They share the building with the Shell station right there at the corner of Atlanta Highway and Coliseum Boulevard. Okay, so you guys go by there. Tell them you heard about them over here, so I can keep getting some of their money. and they can keep getting some of mine, so we both can stay in business. Okay, that's what I think that's what you want to do. Okay, so here's one right here. Here's one right here, and I want you to listen to this right quick. It's not very long. It's by T.D. Jakes, and it's called, well, you'll hear it in a second.
No thing in your life just happen. There are some things that you learn in the process, in the painful grappling of climbing up to a place rather than being zapped to a place. The things that you went through getting there give you the tenacity to stay there. The fight is your friend. My life was shaped in part through tragedies. And the weird thing about tragedies is that they don't tell you that they're shaping you. Intellect can describe it, but only instinct can find it. People always remember and talk about how you made it, and you're king, or you're the president, or you're the pope, or whoever you are, but they don't understand what all you went through to get there. By the time I figured out what life was all about, it was time to go. I've been sick before. I made it. I've been broke before. I made it. I've been brokenhearted before. I made it. I cried all night, but I made it. I've been betrayed, but I made it. I've been lied on, but I made it. I've been destitute, but I made it. I've been rejected, but I made it. Sometimes when you're imagining how things are gonna go, they don't go the way you imagined. And if you're a weak person, you will quit because it didn't go the way you imagined it. If you don't learn how to master the breaking point, you may have many ventures, but you will not accrue massive success in any area because you have not mastered the breaking point. Every time life runs you to a breaking point, you will give up and quit. You will back away and run. You will say, this is too hard, this is too emotional, this is too stressful, and you will back away. You cannot be a champion until you have survived a breaking point. If you don't learn how to touch people, you can never stop the issues that exist internally or externally in your church, in your life, in your family, in your business. So the one thing that the enemy is determined to do when you are at a breaking point, the first thing he wants to do is isolate you. The only thing wrong with your dream is that you're trying to do it by yourself. The difference between start and finish is determined by how you handle the breaking point. In the process of going up, whenever wheat comes up, tear comes up to the same proportion. Or let me say it in a way that's familiar to you, new levels bring new devils. So while you're coming up, on one side, your haters, problems, situations, circumstances, responsibilities, debt factors, bills, organizational infrastructure needs all come up at the same level. That one fact, you can't come up over here and not come up over there. They both grow up together. Just because your circumstance don't reflect it right now doesn't mean that you don't have it. Believe in yourself and get up out of there and go do what you've got to do. The whole world has turned its head to hear what you have to say. Do you have something to say or not? What you do over the next few months will determine the next few years in your life. How you manage the critical mass of this moment will determine the outcome, whether you acquiesce back to the gravitational pull of your ordinariness or whether you break through into another orbit and another dimension of who you are. I would suggest to you that everything you have gone through in your previous dimension has prepared you for this next dimension, and you're right on the verge if you can master the breaking point. You earned it, you scuffled for it, you fought for it, and now you can hold it down. No thing in your life just happened. There are some things that you learn in the process, in the painful grappling of climbing up to a place rather than being zapped to a place. The things that you went through getting there give you the tenacity to stay there. The fight is your friend. My life was shaped in part through tragedies. And the weird thing about tragedies is that they don't tell you that they're shaping you. Intellect can describe it, but only instinct can fact it. People always remember and talk about how you made it, and you're king, or you're the president, or you're the pope, or whoever you are, but they don't understand what all you went through to get there. By the time I figured out what life was all about, it was time to go. I've been sick before. I made it. I've been broke before. I made it. I've been brokenhearted before. I made it. I cried all night, but I made it. I've been betrayed, but I made it. I've been lied on, but I made it. I've been destitute, but I made it. I've been rejected, but I made it. Sometimes when you're imagining how things are going to go, they don't go the way you imagined. And if you're a weak person, you will quit because it didn't go the way you imagined it.
Nothing just happens. Wow, that's heavy. That, my friends, is heavy. Anyway, good morning to you. Hope this day finds everybody well. You know, I've been doing a little research on my guest coming up at 8 o'clock, and he spent most of his education is in religion, which is good and bad. A PhD in organization and management from Capella University and a doctor of psychology with a Christian worldview, a PSD, a PSYD, whatever that means. and he is the elder of St. James Theological Seminary. He is also a pastor of St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church in Florence, Alabama. Okay, well, we'll talk to him in next hour. But he's an interesting man. He seems to be an interesting. Now he's ran for a few offices. As a matter of fact, he's ran for a couple of. But one thing about him, he hasn't quit. Now he's going to go against. Tuberville's already raised millions of dollars. I don't know how much this guy's raised, but well, let's put it this way: it's not an impossibility, but it is a Herculean task. I mean, Hercules ain't got nothing on him. Okay, I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it'll be an interesting conversation. I've heard him talk to other people. Now he's a Democrat, and nothing wrong with being a Democrat, because I'm really beginning to think that Pork Chop Brown, I think is coming on tomorrow from someplace in Alabama. We're gonna see if I get him on. So Mr. Jamel Brown, as a matter of fact, now if you're talking about a long shot, I mean, now that he yeah. But you know what though? I tell you what. Now I can't be a hypocrite. You can't tell young folks to get involved, and when they get involved, you say you shouldn't be involved. So listen, if he thinks he has what it takes to be the governor of the state of Alabama, let him run. The people will make that choice, who they want to be their next governor. Mr. Boyd has tried on numerous times. I think he ran for what else did he run? He got here in 2010 from South Carolina. He's ran a couple of times for a couple of offices around here. Lieutenant governor, he ran there. But now, I mean, listen, Democrats have not won a statewide office in Alabama for a long time. But that's okay. I'm when I roll down the streets, okay, of Montgomery, I really can't tell who's in office, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, because nothing really changes, because no one wants to do something that's out of the ordinary. Most politicians talk a good game when they're on this side of the chair, but something happens. Something happens when you get in that chair and everybody calls you ma'am and sir and tell you that when you go to the bathroom, the bathroom smells so good. I mean, so you don't really know. Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to know who people are, give them power. And we've seen that in America. We've seen that. The only president I know that turned down I think it was Truman. Truman left and went back home the same way he came, broke. But he had the respect of many people, and sometimes that's better than money. But so they just give people the power, and I'm telling you, they will show you who they really, really are. Okay. Yesterday, in case you didn't hear about it, there was a mass shooting in North Carolina in a marina bar from a boat sitting in the water, killed about 3 people and shot 5 others. It's a church. Now, the name of the church is Grand Blanc, which Blanc stands for white. I don't know if they knew that or not when they named the church that, but okay. I mean, and maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did. Michigan Grand Blanc Church. Yesterday, a couple mornings ago, and which means white church. So okay. Somebody said it's a Mormon church, but I don't know if that's true or not. But okay. So anyway, multiple people shot at the Mormon church in Michigan and North Carolina bar. Church on fire in violent weekend with deadly shootings. Also in Texas. It's people attacking the church now. I don't know. But the good thing about it, there is a good thing about it. It was a white guy that did it. It wasn't a brother. Wasn't a black man that did this. So I was good. I was good to see that, because we got enough things we get blamed for, and some are justifiably so. Okay. Also, I'm glad to know that Fox News did a poll where capitalism still remains the most popular, more popular than socialism. Now, anybody who thinks that socialism is a good system to run America on, it's probably don't got the sense that to get out of a wet bag with a hole in it, because that's certainly. And listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Capitalism is tough. Capitalism, it's tough. It's you know it's tough. It is tough, but it also gives us an opportunity to have the possibility of being more than we ever thought of being if we are willing to put in the work. Okay? I mean, there are very few people are rich because somebody gave them all their money. I mean, most of these people now remember the .com thing when computers first started coming out and this internet thing really kicked off in the 90s. Oh man, people made oodles and oodles of money just for naming a website. So I don't know. And then sometimes people would name websites and they would sell the website. Like let's say if you had a website called Walmart. Well, you know what? And Walmart needed a Walmart, right? And so you can sell it to them for $1 million. So there are lots of things going on in America right now. Now let's get on to something. The thing was white. Wait a minute, Greg. Listen. Every time I pick up the newspaper, it's black folks killing somebody. Well, listen. I don't want anybody to get killed. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying I'm just glad because we lost another young lady in Montgomery the other day. I'm tired of us. We lose 12,000 black males in America each year for the last 5 years. Almost 12,000 men, and I guess those Black lives didn't matter because I don't hear the Black Lives Matter people saying anything about it. But we lose 12 around this country. That's just in this country. That don't include Africa and all the rest of them places. 12,000 young males, black males, every year in America lose their life for the last 5 years. About 12,000. So, and a shooting claimed the life of a woman Friday night in Montgomery. Lieutenant Ernestina McGriff, a spokesman for the Montgomery Police Department, said on September the 26th at about 6:51 p.m., MPD responded to a call about a person shot in the 500 block of Stone Street, in which about 6 minutes from downtown Montgomery. On the scene, McGriff said that the officers came into contact with an adult female, okay, so who was pronounced dead at the scene. So yeah, I'm kind of. I mean, it's tough. It's. Whew. I just don't know. Oh, Donald's out there. He says, "Hey, idiot." Okay, well, you got to put something with that. I mean, that's not my name, so put some. I mean, uh, Grand Blanc. Oh, no. LeBlanc. It means white. Okay, it's what. Okay. What's it? It's weird now because I read this yesterday. Name of the township. Okay, whatever. It still means white. Okay, it's a French word. It means white. So do they not want black folks to live there? I'm just saying. Did they think about when they named the town that? Well, they probably did think about it when they named the town that. As a matter of fact. So okay, I don't care if it's the name of the township or the church or whatever the case may be. Who would live in a town that's called White Town? Really? Come on, man. That's not even cool. Okay. I'm just saying, and I don't want anybody to get kill anybody because one day they may take me out. Okay, I'm just saying. But it was nice to know that for once, and then of course we didn't have a we didn't have we didn't have 5 people killed this weekend, but I know we had one and I think we had a couple of shootings. But it's we get shooting so much until we're not even when we hear it. Oh, just make sure you duck down and stay on the ground for a little minute. I mean, we're gonna have we got our urban areas now are going through PTSD symptoms. Okay, we got kids now going through PTSD because we shoot in our communities like we in Iraq someplace. We shoot Vietnam someplace. I mean, we 12,000 young men a year, black males a year, end up dead. Something has got to be done. And if that means that again, I don't know. I don't know if the uh, uh, oh, done. Although well, never mind. I'm gonna leave that thought to myself. Okay. Now, see, Greg, you took that the wrong way. You took that the wrong way. I'm just saying that I don't, I mean, every time I turn around, somebody that's black is dead. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, I'm just saying. We know if America was great, we would. America is great, but that doesn't make we perfect. And I think the Second Amendment needs to be revisited. I really do. I think I can understand giving everybody a weapon in their home to protect their property, protect their fellow citizens, to protect themselves. But I just don't know who in the hell told Alabamians that we need to be able to walk around with guns on our side. And this other fool walking down, was he walking down Norman Ridge Road the other day with a long rifle on his side? I mean, and all he had to do was go shoot somebody. I mean, who in God's name believes that the Second Amendment was used? That's what it's for. It wasn't. It was for people to protect their homes and protect themselves from a tyrannical government. As a matter of fact, what the Second Amendment, first of all, certainly says something about a militia. And back in the day, anybody who was 16 to 60 was considered part of the militia. We're not doing that anymore. We don't do that anymore. And I like guns like the next guy does. But there's something wrong when we let any fool around here walks around with a gun with no ID. We don't know where the gun came from. We don't know anything. And Sheriff Cunningham said, even if you stop somebody and they got 10 guns in the back seat, you can't do nothing about it. I mean, no wonder we can't get nobody to work on the police department. I mean, really? Would you want to stop somebody with a whole bunch of guns and there's nothing you can do about it? You turn around, they shoot you? Nah, I think somebody, and I don't care about somebody, somewhere along the line got the Second Amendment mixed up. We did. We got the Second Amendment mixed up. I'm sure that the founding fathers and the folks who sat in that congressional seats back in the day when the Constitution was made, I'm absolutely positively sure if we had video back then, I guarantee it would not show the purpose of the Second Amendment is so we'd go around and shoot each other. Okay, and especially people who are mentally deranged and they don't even know they're crazy as hell, but they are. We just don't need to walk around with everybody with guns. Now I am more willing to let people carry concealed weapons as long and I think you need a license. I think somebody needs to know that you have that gun. Okay, somebody needs to know. That way they can check your ID and make sure you. I mean, who came up with this? What, the Constitution? Huh. I'm sorry. There's no, and now we're out of control in America. We are out of control in America. Okay, we're out of control in America when it comes to guns. Okay, I think I hurt Greg's feelings there. Listen, man, I'm just telling you that I was, for once, when these people, yeah, I got a gun, but I don't want to walk around with it. I don't want to walk around with it on my side like this is the wild, wild west or something like that. We got issues with guns in this country. We have issues with them. I mean, when you in Washington, D.C., and you got a gun and you can hold up the Secret Service and steal their cars, we got a problem with guns because these fools don't even know who the Secret Service is. Okay, and that's what's going on. We had diplomats killed. We have all kind of people killed in this country. Just for no reason whatsoever. Oh, and Trump says he's ordering troops to Portland, escalating domestic use of a military. Well, you know what? I ain't mad at them. I think we made to do this on a regular basis, so these fools know that it's not their town. And just because you can carry a gun doesn't mean that you should carry a gun. I'm not. I'm not. Listen, I'm with Trump on this. And if it gets to the point, you need to send a couple here, or the governor, or the governor. Now, if the governors were to do it, the president wouldn't have to do it. Okay, but he has the authority to protect government buildings. Okay, as a matter of fact, if you want to know the truth about it, the Supreme Court has ruled that the police, their job is to protect property more than people. Their job is not to protect you. Okay, that's why they gave us the Second Amendment. But what we didn't know is the same people who walk around talking about the Second Amendment now is going around killing the second person they see all the time. So I'm not sure, Okay. He called the Oregon City war ravage in a social media post is that soldiers will have the authority to use force. I don't blame them. I just don't. I'm. What happened to our country? Really, what happened to it? What happened to our country? Where now, I mean, we've always had little violence because freedom lets dummies have freedom too. And they got the freedom to act like fools and freedom to do all those kind of things. But what happened to our country? Can somebody please tell me what happened to us? What happened? Okay. And I know how the folks were back in the day. Yeah. My mother was born in Mississippi. She gave me all the stories. I got you. I know about that one. I'm good on that. I understand that. But at some point, somebody has got to be brave enough, and that, especially down here in Alabama, brave enough in the legislature to say we need to do something about this gun violence. Montgomery just got way too much of it. Way too much of it. Every urban mecca in this country, every major city in this country has a. Okay. I wonder who that is. Dr. Joe.
Don't you think we need that guy?
That maybe that will shed some light on some things. I mean, when you go down and see 12,000 young men dead by another 12,000 young men every year, maybe, yeah, I believe we do. Well, yeah, yeah, that's true. No, Black lives do matter. Of course they do, but all lives matter. And but it does seem like it does. Hey, Dr. Boyd, hang in for a couple minutes. You a little early. Okay, can you hear me? Shake it. Okay. Okay. Good. All lives matter, of course. Black lives matter, white lives matter, and then like, all lives matter. They just do. But you get more. Well, again, I listen. I mean, we in a place in America right now where even people in church got to carry. Mm, yeah. Well. Now I must tell you though. Now this is just me from a well, I won't say theoretical perspective, but if you believe in God, should you carry a gun in church? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. Well, anyway, again, yeah. Well, we got people knifing each other. Yeah, yeah. That's. But I'd rather take my chance. I'd rather take my chance with somebody with a knife than a gun. Okay. I've disarmed people with knives before. I have never dis. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. All right then. All right, appreciate it. I see Dr. Boyd's waiting in the and since I don't have any more calls or anything, let me bring him to the old studio. Uh,
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Boyd. You know, we got a guy here named Will Boyd, and everybody thought it was him who was running.
You know, that happens every time I run. I don't know why that is. Of course, first and last name, but that's happened so many times. You'd think by now people would know who I am.
Now, let's get on down to the nitty gritty. Now,
Yes.
I looked at you have an impressive educational background. I don't know how much of that is going to help you being governor. All those great degrees you have, you know, especially with people. But why? Why do you think you want to be governor of the state of Alabama?
Well, I always say, first of all, thank you for
Mhm.
having me on your show today, and thank you for your service for the country. I appreciate that. But let me move forward and just say I'm running for governor of Alabama because I want every Alabamian to have a shot at the American dream. I believe there are too many people who are falling behind, too many people who feel it's unattainable. But I believe in Alabama, believe it or not, a southern state that is struggling as it relates to jobs, the economy, and even healthcare, and much more, that we can do a whole lot to move this state forward. So that's why I'm running.
Now, I love those. I love those platitudes because you know I love them. They just they go across your lips so smooth. You know, yeah. I want everybody to have a fair shot in America. I like that because who can argue with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, who can? But the problem is, who determines what a fair shot is? And
Believe it or
it,
not, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, and it seems like to me that every time a man goes up, he's on the back of another man. Now
Mm,
you got a choice. Stop letting people stand on your back, and you start doing some of the walking,
absolutely.
because we can't. What we have found in America with all these government programs, DEI and affirmative action, what we have found is that the people who supposedly were to benefit from these programs really haven't.
Right.
And so and Ronald Reagan once said, I know you know who you ain't that young. Ronald Reagan once said, the worst thing we could hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Okay.
Right.
There has been a big conversation about DEI. Theoretically, I mean philosophically, okay, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That sounds good. I mean, who could argue with those words?
Right.
But the problem with answers to questions, everybody knows the answer. The problem is how do you implement it?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what's your thought on the whole DEI thing? Now, I personally wasn't for it. I got tired of having to do it at work and my other job. I got tired of being reminded every day that how black I was and I needed help. So
Hmm.
so what's your thought on that?
Well, first of all, if I could go back to the beginning of your statement, and I want to say this regarding standing on shoulders and backs, etc. In one of my offices, I have a picture of one of my ancestors' relatives. Uh, Among the many things that I do, the many hats that I wear, I'm also pastor of a 165-year-old church in Florence, Alabama, and a bishop to churches worldwide. I often overlook talking about my religious responsibilities because a lot of people in Alabama have been hurt by leaders who've gone into office claiming that they're religious, claiming that their faith is guiding them, but they continue to see that they're being trampled upon. So one of the things I've done in my office at one of the churches is I have a picture of my ancestor, person who actually helped build Bush River Baptist Church, the church that my father, born in 44, actually attended when he was a child or boy himself. That is a reminder to me that I'm only where I am today because I'm standing on the shoulders of people like him. However, we cannot allow people to walk all over our backs, continue to ask for our votes, get into office, and then take advantage of us and leave us behind. My wife is a VP for a major company. And of course, her role is regarding HR. I spend a lot of time talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion myself. I believe it's important to make sure that we include everyone. That's why I said I want everyone to have a shot at the dream and not just some. You know, in some places in Alabama, or really I'd say the whole state, you'll notice that people of color are actually disproportionately incarcerated, disproportionately as you get into numbers like maternity mortality. Maternity mortality and even infant mortality. You see disproportions in people of color. You see as it related to COVID. more African Americans impacted by those things that occurred. I can go on and on and on. So we need people who understand that this is not a dream for only a few people to enjoy, but it's a dream for everyone to really enjoy. I was at an NAACP state gala even this weekend where Mark Thompson spoke. You know him very well. But long story short, even during the swinging 20s, when people were wearing beautiful dresses and suits and having a great time in ballrooms, people of color were struggling. We weren't where others were. So we need to wake up and recognize, yes, we want to be an inclusive state. We want everybody to succeed. This is not about giving out handouts, but let's make sure we have a true representation of what Alabama looks like. Let's not make it a SCOTUS or a Supreme Court of the United States ruling that makes sure that every voice has a place in our state. But let's realize that everyone should fairly be able to speak up without always having to bring in legislation to make that change.
Again, that sounds good. I mean, who can argue with that? Let me ask you a question. The abortion issue.
Yes, sir.
It seems like to me you can't be a Democrat in America without capitulating to the demands of abortion. We got a Supreme Court justice up there that was so intellectually dishonest she couldn't tell the man what a woman was, and she was one. Mm-hmm. So, tell me what's your thought on the abortion thing?
Let me just say this first of all, as a person who's very well immersed in the Democratic Party. I've served as a chairman of a Lauderdale County Democratic Executive Committee, twice elected that position. I've served in the State Democratic Executive Committee, all while serving as a pastor, a bishop, a man of faith. My faith is never used as a weapon, but I'm very clear. I do not believe I do not personally believe that the government should intervene in healthcare issues that relate to a woman and her physician. Even people like Senator Warnock in the neighboring state agree to this. But let me say this. I don't know anybody, no Democrat that's pro-abortion, that just wants to see abortion. We want to make sure that women have the ability to make their healthcare decisions alone, and the government does not interfere with that. The part that people don't talk about is the fact that right now in Alabama, there are people who are struggling to get OBGYN help. There are people right now in certain counties that don't have ambulatory services or a regional hospital, don't even have in an hour's drive a federally qualified healthcare center they can get to. If they are in crisis, if they're experiencing any type problems relating to the pregnancy, any trimester, a baby could die within a matter of seconds. We're looking at, as it relates to women, 64 women per 100,000 who are being lost. It's even higher for African Americans, 100 per 100,000. So with the issue of abortion, we love to focus on it, or at least I think some people try to use it as a hot button issue or a third rail issue to sink Democrats. But in reality, the Democrats are the ones saying there's some women right now who are bleeding out in bathrooms, who are trying to deliver a child that they know will never take a breath because of some medical complications, but they're afraid to go to the OBGYN because the OBGYN could be prosecuted for performing the DNC. So we have to look at abortion in a totally different way. Alabama, we have to be willing to say, yeah, we may have a pro-life or a pro-choice perspective on it, but let's let women make this decision. And more Republican women agree with this platform as well. So I think when we stand up and articulate this, even very quickly in a one-line sentence, mm-hmm. I believe in the right to life or a person to live from cradle to the grave, but I also believe in a woman's right to make her own healthcare decision. When Democrats speak that simply in just that one sentence, that can make a difference.
Okay. Should we just a question? Should we make prostitution legal?
Should we make prostitution legal? I want to first of all say that's the first time anybody ever asked a question like that. Yeah. I don't have any answer for you, to be honest with you. I don't think so. Let me just say this. First,
that's her body. That's her body.
It's her body. I would not, from a business point of view as a legislator, if a person in any business, whether it's I've never drank, smoke a day of my life, but if there's a business in Alabama that is actually functioning and working according to or under the guidelines of the law, whatever it may be, I think that business has a right to function, to operate. Now, if there's a person who is on the religious side committing something that I regard as a sin, that's what I address from the pulpit to people who are in churches. But as a legislator, my job is not to bring my religious beliefs into office. My job is to make sure I see if the law is being abided by and make sure there are laws that actually work. You know, you're asking an interesting question and kind of joke with you in my response. I'm what you see is what you get. I'm going to just tell you what I think. But here's another one. Hemp. I've never smoked a day of my life. Never chewed anything related to cannabis, gummies, nothing THC. But here's what I know. Whenever HB 445 went into play, whenever there was a ban on hemp that took place in the last legislature, it knocked 1,000 business owners out. Now, I could sit back and say cannabis is not anything that I ever tried or ever would have picked up, going to purchase. But listen, there are 1,000 businesses that legally abided by the rules, played the game fairly, and all of a sudden their business are wiped out. $1 million of revenue is now not coming to the state. I don't inject my religious beliefs. I actually just said, well, let me listen to you. I sat down with one of the people who is over the Cannabis Coalition. Matter of fact, the president, for 4.5 hours. After our discussion, me and my wife started the first hour discussions with me, and then she had to go on. But after we finished this 4.5 hours of discussion, believe it or not, the Alabama Cannabis Coalition endorsed me to be governor. Why? Because I listened to them. I heard the problem. I presented solutions. I told them what I would do as governor in the first few weeks, if not months, of me sitting there. And it involves with any policy. You introduce prostitution, and I'm talking about him. So this makes an interesting conversation for those who are watching me from the church today on a Monday morning. But let me just tell you this. We have to have a legislative session where we sit down with physicians, we sit down with farmers, we sit down with the patients. For instance, you might have a Vietnam veteran who is struggling with pain and is tired of going to the VA to get a bag of pills, but they want to have the remaining of their lives enjoyed with dignity. You follow me? That's his or her choice. You might have a person who is saying, hey, the only way that I can treat, and I'm a licensed Christian therapist, and I have a degree in psychology, a doctorate in psychology as well. But long story short, there may be people out there who feel like they are calm, less nervous, less anxiety, less general anxiety disorder symptoms whenever I work with someone I know to become relaxed. So this is what we have to look at in Alabama. We're trying to come in with a religious point of view into everything. And we should use that to guide our own personal beliefs, but we should not lord over Alabamians with what we believe. Let the business owners abide by whatever laws are in place, and let our economies flourish. Because at the end of the day, we can scream all day long about what we think, we like, we don't like. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I mentioned high maternity mortality rates. We've got a lot of African Americans who are falling behind in schools. 22% of our children under 18 are in poverty. We talk about lotteries, another issue that is a hot button issue. A lot of people in the church pews might not want to hear about the lottery, but I believe we need a lottery to bring more revenues into Alabama. I'm tired of us funding the education of people in Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, and Florida. I've never played the lottery, but guess what? That'll bring some of our kids out of being in the place where they're falling behind, so that we get pre-K fully funded, so that eventually we have less people on the streets doing the wrong things, not getting jobs, and eventually we get Alabama where it needs to be. Giving you a long answer, but just want you to understand.
Well, you're a preacher. I got that. I expected that. Yeah, preachers. You know, y'all get along.
Watch out now. Watch out. I didn't give you 19 conclusions now.
Let me ask you something. It seems to me that here's my problem with the Democratic Party, and some with the Republican Party too, but more forcefully with the Democratic Party. Ronald Reagan once said that our laws should represent our morals. And so, yeah, you have a law. Every law on the books comes from somebody's interpretation of what's right and wrong.
Mhm.
Okay, every law, and it's got to be put there by somebody. So I'm always hearing nobody can get in office and leave what they believe behind. I mean, you're a pastor, you're a Christian pastor, so I'm going. I would think a lot less of you if you did not stand up for what you knew was morally right. Okay,
Mhm.
now to kill a child is wrong.
Mhm.
It's just but we ain't gonna get it. We gonna leave that one on the backpack. And I realize that every once in a while there are medical emergencies that these things do happen, and I
Mhm.
got no problem with that because I wouldn't. I mean, I'm pretty sure you got any kids.
I have three, and,
Okay.
and for the record, we lost one, and
Hmm.
so life is very important to me from the cradle to the grave, much more than other pastors and bishops like myself. I believe in life from cradle to the grave, but
Hmm.
again, you heard my stance and my position.
Okay.
So I don't
Yeah.
believe in killing babies at all. I don't believe in abortions as a mass means of birth control. I was
Hmm.
explaining to you that when life is at stake, particularly life, beyond the exemptions, we need to make sure we're
Right.
compassionate in how
And I
we
think there
address.
ought to be exemptions, right? If that mother's life is on the table, and it's not, then let's keep the mind. And we don't want to lose anybody. But every once in a while, you have to make that decision. Let me ask you another question.
But just not expanding Medicaid, we're losing somewhere between, I don't know, on the low side, 6 to 30 women every
Mhm,
year per 100,000 in Alabama. Not expanding Medicaid, we are seeing where they're anywhere from, I'm just going to take a conservative average and say 30 babies a year. So we don't talk about the other side of it. We can't be pro-life on one side and not address pro-life all the way
mhm,
through in terms of
yeah,
policy. So you mentioned Ronald Reagan twice. This is
mhm,
your show, and I'm with you all the way. But let me say this:
mhm.
and I like Ronald Reagan as a
Yeah.
president, a
You
good
don't have
man.
to like them. I mean, that's okay.
But you can't legislate morality, right?
But we
And so,
do.
yeah,
We do legislate morality.
no. Listen. I believe you come in with your personal beliefs and background. You have your guiding principles, but you cannot sit there and use the laws in your own way to justify why you do what you do. That is something that's wrong. Let me give you an example. Slavery was actually justified from a biblical point of view. So there's a difference in, if you want to get religious or biblical for just
Mhm,
a second on it,
mhm,
there's a difference in talking about the fact that you are somebody who understands the biblical context and somebody who's practicing biblical principles. So you can actually quote the Bible, but you can do stuff that's inhumane. You can say you love the word, but your actions don't speak that you are walking in the footsteps of Jesus or the master or whoever you might subscribe to as a great leader of the faith. So this is why I believe it's important that you don't just elect people because they say they're like me or a bishop. You want to bring people in who really demonstrate they practice the beliefs of I'm going to use the words Jesus Christ or whoever, God the Father. You want to make sure that, because some people use the law for the wrong reasons, to hold people back. The laws that we have in place right now in Alabama are repressive. They hurt poor people. We have right now even grocery taxes that hurt people of color. They hurt poor people. Now, how does that line up with the teachings of Jesus? How does that
I'm
line up
with
with
you.
Christian principles?
Here's a question right here that somebody wants to women's men being involved with women's sports in the state of Alabama. I don't even think I got to answer this because I know you are 100% totally against this because biologically you're an educated man. Biologically, there's no such thing as a transgender. No man has ever turned himself into a woman. No woman has ever turned herself into a man. Would you agree with that statement?
I do believe, from a biblical point of view, God created male and female, full stop. I do believe there's some people who are struggling right now with who they believe they are identity wise. I believe that there are some people who have decided that they want to explore, or you might identify as LGBTQIA plus.
Mhm.
Uh, Transgender people are in Alabama, but I think we have to be very, very supportive, and offer even wraparound services to
wait,
people in that area.
Doc, you're an educated man. You
I
know that you know that no male or female has ever changed themselves from one sex to another. The word transgender is a political word to get us to indoctrinate us into accepting it. No man has ever done that. So why are we using the word?
I did not say that in any way. What I said to you is that
You said transgender. There are none.
I did. I said the word. I said that people who identify, use the word very carefully. Identify. And you can identify. You can identify as anything as it relates to LGBTQIA plus. That's
we call that mental illness. We call that mental illness.
Okay, you might call it mental illness, but and again, it depends on what your faith may be or what your position may be philosophically. But there are people out there now, if you just even move away from this issue for just a moment, who do things that are unlawful, who do things that don't line up with what you believe is right as an individual, regardless of what your beliefs are. You can't just jump on them and call them a mentally ill person. You might call them someone who doesn't believe what you believe, but you have to be very cautious and careful with that, especially now. Alabama is struggling in the mental health area. A lot of the people who are struggling in certain communities that we just mentioned right now, as it relates to identification, over 50% of them, believe it or not, have struggled and wanted to commit suicide because they are in a place where they need help or support or wraparound services. Comments like the ones you just made could make Alabama an uninviting place. I'm not asking you to change your beliefs and philosophy. I would never do that. I wouldn't change mine. I'm just saying when people come to us, they're always going to think things differently from the way they do. Me and my wife that I've been married to for 27 years, we don't agree on 100% of the things, but I don't just jump on, her or she jumps on me and says,
right. I when I was in school for that short period of time, I studied philosophy and critical thinking.
Yes, sir.
Now logic and reason and common sense has not been thrown out the window. It is absolutely illogical to believe that people can turn themselves into a male or female when God gave them something else. So I realize the political answer, and I ain't trying to put you on the hot spot here, but what we need is somebody in office that will just tell the plain doggone truth that what you think you are, it's okay, because that's in your head. But to change our laws, to come up with legislative edicts because people are mentally ill, it's a crying shame in a country like ours. I mean, you can be what you want to be. But do you realize that has changed the whole work environment? When John comes to work on Monday as John, he comes on Wednesday as Joanne. I'm just saying that we are turning this country into something that nobody ever saw in their life. I mean, listen, can we have somebody in office that does something different? Speak the truth. And the truth is that you can't change yourself from one thing to another. You can't do it.
I said it when I started. I believe God created male and female full stop as a bishop and a pastor. I did not, and you can quote any laws that you want to, that you said Alabama has that would speak otherwise to the issue. I don't know of any, but let me stop here for a second and say this. Generally speaking, you talk about logic, philosophy, etc. Just going to, at the basic level, say this. I heard this quote recently. If you think you are a winner or you think you are a loser, you are.
Okay. But if you think you're a man or a woman, you're not.
No, listen. No, I'm talking about what you said earlier about thinking. I was talking about the fact that you can have different thoughts about what you are. And mentally, that's what you can actually identify with or be in terms of your personality. But right now, I'm saying to you, you have somebody who's speaking truth in front of you. But what I'm telling you is Alabama's not compassionate about the fact that when people think something different, you don't just throw them out. You try to work with them. You try to help them. You try your best to make sure we have a population that is inviting, that is supportive, no matter who you are.
Okay.
Now, in the church, behind the church, you can decide who sits on the choir, who sits in the pulpit,
Yeah.
who does what, who does not.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that completely, right? You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like whether you bake a cake or not, or a baker. You can decide what you do behind your closed doors.
Right.
But as far as the environment, I just think Alabama needs to be an inviting one where we're not trying to beat everybody up. That's all.
Should we allow men to play in women's sports?
I believe we should have multiple categories, like an open sports section. But I would like to see where people can come in and play the sport, but men competing with men, women competing with women, but an open sports category where anybody who, as I keep saying, identifies in a different way competes openly. But I think male, female. Again, you get into the issue of identification when you start getting into these silos, and that's where I think the challenges are. Even governors like Gavin Newsom, that is leading in the presidential poll as it relates to future presidents, if not Kamala Harris. You see where there's discussion about them along the same views that we're discussing right now. But Democrats are actually in a place we have a big tent. There's some blue dogs, there's some yellow dogs, there's some more conservative Democrats, there's some less conservative, more liberal. We're a big tent. We don't beat each other up for our beliefs. You have somebody again.
Maybe they should beat some of them up for some of their beliefs. But we're just gonna leave that one alone.
Republicans, independents are the same way. They have people who are far right. You have people who are moderates. Every political party has this.
Let's talk about something that's more important than any of that at the moment, and that's education.
Yes, sir.
Most people, every bad education system in this country, every last one in the major cities are ran by which party? Do you know?
Every education system,
every school system in this country in major cities that is at the bottom of the list on everything is ran by a particular people who say they belong to the Democratic Party. Every last one of them. It's the expectations of our kids in school been lowered to the point because now we got them thinking about trans this and trans that rather than reading, writing, and arithmetic. Just about every school in this country that is going to the cellar is ran, and you can look this up when you get out of here. It's ran by somebody of the Democratic Party.
I don't have to look it up, and I appreciate your questions, but you're asking about the city, but you need to look at the state policy, and this is why I need to be in a governor's seat.
What would you do? What would you do to make it better?
Well, first of all, and again, I appreciate your question, and I'm not pivoting in any way. I want to go straight to answer your question.
You're pivoting, but that's okay.
No. I don't. No, not at all. I'm actually going straight to your question. You came in saying Democrats are leading cities where the education is poor. I'm telling you, you have to look at the state policy to understand why some of those cities are struggling. Right now, we have, like for Alabama, we are falling behind from an educational point of view, even with Democrats over major cities, because right now we choose Tommy Tuberville, my Republican opponent in the general election. He wants to spend $1.3 billion building prisons rather than investing in children. We have right now a governor who is spending money making sure that the prison population increases rather than making sure there's equality in zip codes as it relates to educational dollars. So you have to move beyond just talking about the categorization by city to honing in on what the governor or the person who is there at the top can do. And even going further to the Department of Education at the national level, we're depending Alabama on money to come from the Department of Education to help us out, even though we're saying close it down. So that's speaking out of both sides of our mouths, right? But at the same time, we have to move forward with the plan that starts at pre-K in Alabama. You ask me, here's what we do. We fully fund pre-K, Mr. Elkins. Right now, believe it or not, Alabama has the top pre-K in the nation, but only about 40% of our people in Alabama enjoy it. Let's go to Tuscaloosa for just a second. Tuscaloosa is a city that is thriving, is doing well by some standards. We know about Alabama football, but there are 12,000 kids who are under the age of 5, but only about 3,000 slots of pre-K for them to go into. So that means 8,000 fall behind. As it relates to education, right now, we need to have a blue collar revival where we have abilities for blue collar workers to go in and start working with high school students, not just dual credits for college, but moving forward to opportunities to go into the trades quicker. There are people right now in the trades, organized labor, who are multimillionaires and making six-figure salaries and did not spend a complete year in college. So it's not all about getting these degrees that people are investing in, but we have to look at ways to move in this direction. We have to make sure that our crumbling schools, I mentioned 22% of our children being in poverty in Alabama. That means while they're sitting in these crumbling schools in some zip codes, their stomachs are growling. Now, we talked about Jesus earlier. Jesus knew when to teach people, preach to them, and he also knew when to feed them, break bread and fish before them. So we have to understand that if the kids are coming to our schools hungry, then they're not going to be paying attention to what's on the whiteboard or a smart screen. So these are things that we need to do. I have a full policy relating to education, but the systemic problems in our states seem to be that there is not investment in education, even where there are blue or Democrats leading the cities.
Okay, let me ask you a question. There's a school in Montgomery called Valiant Cross.
Yes, sir.
Which has taken the same kids that go to public schools before and turn them into something that is absolutely if I could say it was a miracle, it'd be a miracle. These kids that came from the same schools. So yes, let me ask you a question here. Public school has lowered the expectations. There was an educated man. There is a study called the Pygmalion study that says it was done in 1964. That says if teachers expect more, they will get more. Mm-hmm. What we've seen at Valiant Cross. So why is it that, and I hear what you're saying, but why is it that only schools that are majority populated by Black folks are on the down low and they got all the problems in the world, but other schools outside Montgomery, outside the big cities, don't have the same problem we got? So it can't just be money. There's a lack of expectation. You didn't get all those PhDs by being slack and staying home and not going to school and with no expectations on you, even if your expectation came from you. There seems to be a problem in public school where we cannot, we make excuses for the failure of our kids because we don't expect more from them. Please tell me why everybody else is doing this better than we are. And
I did exactly what you mentioned with Valley at a university, then Greenville College. I had the role of Dean of Student Success. I had a PASS group, which PASS stood for PASS, Professional Assistance for Student Success. I took in, and my predecessor, frat brother of mine, he came before me and he did a lot of studies in the area, just like the study you just mentioned. But this study was called the Tinto study or Tinto model. And it's based on two variables, preparedness and connectedness. When you prepare people for success, expect a lot, like you just mentioned. And you also connect people who are already successful, kind of like the places you would go model. This is how you can help people to envision where they want to go and work towards it. So here's what we did. We took people who were first generation college students. Their mother, father had not been to college. They were, if you had a class of 100, we took the ones who were closer to 100 than to number one, the very bottom. When we brought those students in and gave them what you just mentioned, gave them a hope, gave them an idea of what a vision looks like, prepared them by not starting them off in English 101 or Math 101 the first day of school. I brought them in a month or two early, gave them what we call English 090, Math 090, developmental English, developmental math, because they came out of some of these failing schools. We made sure that they had level ground, so by the time they started, they were on the same ground. And even though they were number 197 out of 200, by the time they graduated, these people graduated with at least a 3.0 at a major school and are now highly successful and they're scholar practitioners all over the world. We did that back in 2005. a long time ago. 20 years ago, I was doing that because of a team tool model, preparedness and connect. That's what I'm going to do for the whole state, but that's what I'm going to do for education in Alabama. Let's take people out and show them there are people that look like you, white, black, yellow, whatever you want to say, who are succeeding. But let me connect you with them. Let me prepare you for success. That's not what we have right now. That's why schools like the ones you mentioned do well. It doesn't, no matter what the zip code is, no matter what kind of background you have, you can succeed. I'm in a Senate, I'm in a gubernatorial race, but we have one person in a Senate race right now in Alabama who has one parent who's incarcerated, and he's a Caucasian, one parent who's incarcerated, one who had a substance abuse problem, a stepfather who's incarcerated, and he went to school on his own. And after most people would go to school, he went back as a non-traditional learner, got a degree in chemistry, and is doing very well. And again, running for Senate. So I don't believe in this nobody can win, nobody can succeed idea. I believe if you have teachers who believe in their students, it works. When you don't have teachers or educators who are motivated to go to school, who don't want to be there, then you're in a place where you're in trouble. You have to have people who are excited about educating the future. Let me say this, and I'm quitting on the area until you go to the next question. Alabama suffers from brain drain instead of brain gain. So you have to incentivize teachers when they're coming out of the schools to go into education. They know they're going to be paid less than people who are in other fields, but they're going to go into public service like I did. They're going to teach. But let's say to them, well, maybe we forgive the first $15,000 of your student loans if you stay in Alabama for 15 years, 10 years, whatever the model may be. When we take that type of approach to invest in students in creative ways, beginning with the faculty, I think we can see Alabama do better.
Okay, I hear you. Anyway, I'm just, and listen, I've been here since 1991 in this city. I've had two boys go through the public school system.
Awesome.
One of my kids actually is trying to get in one of the most elite military academies in the country, and they called us, and he went to school in Montgomery. So he told me, and this is what he told me. He said, the teachers are pretty good, but the atmosphere is chaotic.
Right.
We for some reason, the politicians, the policymakers, for some reason, don't want to give our teachers and principals the authority to manage the environment by which they teach in, because we're too worried about somebody getting their feelings hurt. You can't let us reading, writing, and arithmetic is what we need to focus on in school, not whether or not Johnny thinks he's a girl. We even had one school here where boys came to work school with dresses on. Okay. You cannot, even kids know the difference between men and women, females and males. If we would just leave that crap alone, what you do at home is up to you. But if we concentrate solely on reading, writing, and arithmetic, I think we can pull ourselves out of this educational thing. State of Alabama has a $10 billion education budget last year. I found out that it's not all used for education.
Right.
It's used for other things.
Right. So I call that rating the educational trust fund, by the way.
Well, it's an educational slush fund. Okay. not a trust fund. So what would you do if that's because I'm sick and tired of people talking about raise our taxes, because ad valorem taxes, because they want to give more money to the schools when we got more money in the education fund than some states have in their general fund.
Right.
Okay. So what would you do with the help of the legislature? And the thing I think you ought to do, if you ever get a chance, nobody gets to take money out of the education slush fund they use for education. And maybe so rather than talk about the things that we don't have, well, let's start using judiciously the things that we do have. So you
just asked the question. That's what we have to do. We have to protect it. And that's why I said rating the educational trust fund, or you call the educational slush fund. It should not be that way. It should be strictly for education. That period. I believe that's
what it's called. That's what it's called. But it
think about the word trust. I mean, we have to trust and believe that it's there for that reason, no other reason. So that's the simple answer to that.
Okay, let's talk about prisons.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I don't think I know for a fact that everybody in prison don't belong there. And I realized that everybody walking the streets out here, some of them belong there.
Right.
But we got a parole board that only gives people what 10% of the people, 5% of the people that come before them parole. Now, everybody, if God had the same standards for us as a parole board has for them, then we would never make it to heaven. Okay,
Very few of us. Very few of us.
So we need to do something about that parole board, and everybody, everybody just don't belong there. And this thing about giving people these long sentences, I don't care if they're selling a truckload of marijuana. They don't deserve 40-year sentences to go to jail.
No, absolutely not.
So we need to redo that thing.
Absolutely.
And I realize that conservatives, when it's election time, the first thing they want, law and order. Well, except when it comes to them.
Right.
And then when their kids get in trouble, often, he had a psychological problem. Yeah, well, if I stay in this prison as long, I'm gonna have one. So what is your plan to change some of the metrics in the way we do this for people? And listen, if you do something wrong, we all pay. But how doggone if we need to put people in jail for 30, 40 years for selling some marijuana?
Alabama has one of the highest incarceration rates in the world. Alabama has a problem with we can talk about parole, we can talk about the prison system. Yesterday, believe it or not, and even at following an NAACP event Saturday night, my last discussions in the room when the tablecloths were being snatched off was about ways I can fix the prison system in Alabama. I have people who call me from the prisons right now, women particularly, out of one county, telling me about the fact that even though they are trustees, they've earned the rank where they can say that they have a little bit of privileges. Believe it or not, they are still in sanitary crisis. They're in places where they're not able to enjoy the feminine products that most people on the outside would. They are experiencing high levels of COVID, high levels of certain things, I'll just say, being transferred because of the bodily fluids, things that are not being cleaned up, rodents in kitchens. I was just talked about this over the weekend, and some people think that's acceptable. Let's go to the numbers. Since 2018, somewhere in that neighborhood, you're talking about where the parole board was at a 50% level of people being released. Recently, we're down to about 5%, or even less. Think about that for just a second. Now, the budget just came up for 2025. They reduced their spending by 5% going into the new budget 2026, but they are not releasing more people. Let's think about hemp. I've mentioned it a little while ago. When you have all of these technicalities for locking people up, believe it or not, you have more people going to prison who should not be. We have a high level of high number of people in prison, to your point, who are there because of minor infractions. These technicalities need to be done away with. What can we do day one? We can rapidly process a lot of these people who are waiting in line for parole and make sure there are few people in prison. At the end of the day, instead of building bigger prisons, work on the ways in which people are going to prison. Prevent the recidivism rates from increasing. Make sure there's a transition for people coming out of being in jail for 30 years to all of a sudden stepping into a new society. When they went in, there were bag phones, corded phones on walls, and they're coming out now in their cell phones. That seems simple to us. But when a person comes out and they lag behind, believe it or not, they've missed out on raising kids like you have, your two sons. They missed out on being a part of family events. They don't feel that they fit in. And believe it or not, they fall back in sooner or later when they can't provide for their own. So these are things that we have to do to go in and change our prison system. First of all, we have to change the mindset of the legislature. I said it earlier, when a person like Senator Tommy Tuberville wants to spend $1.3 billion on prisons, that's about like saying we want to spend more money to put ambulances at the bottom of the cliff for people to fall off, rather than to put the guide rails at the top and stop people from going into these problems in the first place. I don't have to quote Frederick Douglass to you. You're a more educated man than me. You know what he talked about, the importance of building good men rather than trying to repair the ones that are broken down. It's much harder to do that. And so this is what we've got to stop doing in Alabama. Stop awarding people for punishing prisoners. Stop making this a multi-billion-dollar money-making business. Stop encouraging your law enforcement in your local areas to look at prisoners population as ways to raise funds and dollars. Stop making people feel like in order to meet a quota, to make money, and turn this around to where this is about how can we protect and serve you. Now, there are some people who deserve to be there, right? We know that. But there are some people I know a lady right now who was arrested almost 2 years ago, Kevin. And believe it or not, she hasn't even had a motion for discovery. She doesn't know why she's there. This is happening all over Alabama. And so I think we need to get some people in who understand this problem.
And just to re-emphasize this, every politician that runs for office, they always have, when it comes to the words, they say the right words. How do we know that once you get there, you won't forget?
When it wasn't popular, I had a prison reform type system working in the basement of our church. I had a person who sat in our church every day with the desk, who made sure that we reached into the prison population when people were there to start training them, preparing them as they come out and transition, they can succeed and do well on the outside. This is a prison recovery. So we did more than go in and preach and teach Jesus throughout the week. Me and my wife playing the keyboard and drums and organist going with me. We also went in and made sure we prepared people to succeed. Just like I talked about investing in students, getting teachers who are excited about, the faculty excited about the students. We had people who would go into the prison system excited about getting males and females ready to do well. I'm talking to people right now on phones in prisons on a weekly basis, talking about how they can come out and make a living doing something when they get out. So this is more, I'll just say this, just look at my life now. Look at everything I've done while in Alabama, while in Illinois, while in South Carolina. Look at my track record. Everybody can Google now. Just see what I've done all over the world as it relates to making sure people are free. And you'll see, I'm not a person who talks and doesn't take action. As a matter of fact, my favorite saying in the world is by St. Francis of Assisi. He said this: preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words.
I heard somebody said that I'd rather see a sermon than hear one.
I say that every month, sir. I believe that. I'm an Omega man.
Okay.
A Q dog, as some say. I'd rather see one than hear one any day. And that's what we try to do. We practice what we preach, sir.
Okay. Now, the biggest thing, this is going to be a tough one for you, but you know, somebody got to do it. There are too many deaths in this country, but right now we're just going to stick to Alabama by guns. There's just too many deaths. I believe, and if you look behind me, you see it back there. I've carried a weapon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I've seen your paratrooping gear as well, sir.
Yeah. So, but we need to do something about the gun violence in this country. I don't believe that the founding fathers ever thought for a second that we'd be going around this country killing each other. There are 12,000 Black men who are killed every year in the last 5 years, about 12,000, and most of it is by other Black men. So it's got not a whole lot to do with color, but it certainly seems to be epidemic in our communities. I don't know if that's because we're not expecting much out of them, or we just leave them over there to fend for themselves. But I'm telling you that the responsibility for all this violence in this city is probably a little bit my generation, more of your generation. But you guys have done something wrong. I don't know what it is. We don't have enough father. I personally think that there ought to be a law in the book say if you don't spend time with your kids, you go to jail. Spend time in jail, because most of these young Black males can't tell you where their father is, and that's a shame. That's a shame. So Montgomery, we allow people in Alabama to walk around with a rifle on their side. Now you're going to get a lot of pushback from this. I mean, you're going to get called all kind of names, live, whatever you want to do. But somebody's got to be willing to take a stand. And I'm all for the Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment never was, back in the early days, Second Amendment, when they said people carry guns, 16 to 60 were part of the militia, automatically part of the militia back in 1800 and 1700. Well, we got the National Guard, Army Reserve now in the U.S. Army, and we got people with jets that can fly any place, go any place. So I don't think I don't think we need everybody walking around with a gun now. What do you see as something that can bring a light to this? Because see, the problem is, if my neighbor's house burns down, it's an inconvenience. But if your house burned down, it's a tragedy.
Yes, sir.
So what's in your box for at least trying to address it? I'm so sick and tired of. I seen a young man a month or so ago laying on the ground that got shot not far from me, and we get more people killed now than we did in Iraq in America. So what do you think can be done? And you're going to have a hard time convincing a whole bunch of good old boys up there who believe. And I ain't talking about shooting ducks and shooting pigs and shooting turkeys. I'm talking about we shooting each other. What do you think? Have you made any alliances or the possibility of alliances to get somebody to think about doing something?
Yes, sir. So I travel around the state regularly every week, speaking about a number of issues. One of the issues that I speak about is gun reform or legislation related to guns. One of the things I do, even with Republicans, is I talk about the fact that we both agree that the Second Amendment is not a problem. We all understand that. We all support the Second Amendment, but the ideas that lead off into solutions or the directions we take are different. And so what I do is I sit people down. The first thing I let them know is the staggering amounts of people who are injured or killed in Alabama. You brought up some numbers, but let me just share some with you. Every year in Alabama, over 1,000 people lose their lives because of gun violence. 1,000. Every year in Alabama, at the minimum, 3,444 lives are affected by a gunshot wound because of gun violence in some way. So let's put the numbers together. On a minimum, 4,444 families, if not the same families, are actually affected by gun violence or them being hurt. Of course, I come in and I talk about solutions, but the way that I get to the solution with Republicans, independents, and Democrats is, again, to first say what we agree on. We agree that our communities should be safe. We believe it's not the gun that injures the person. It's people who are dangerously handling a gun. Now, then we walk into how do we keep the guns out of the hands of dangerous people, if that's what we want to call them. And suggestions that I throw out all the time are expanding the background checks. But before I do that, especially with Republicans, I say if we just enforce the laws that are on the books, believe it or not, we could see a curve in that 1,000 and the 344,000 Alabama. And let me say this, a lot of Republicans, a lot of people who lean more to the right, I'm not saying this in a negative manner at all, but when I quantify what that means in terms of dollars per gunshot, dollars per victim, what it does to our state, people who are business minded come behind and say, you're right, we need to do something. To your point about the burning house, but neighbor's house, that's their, it's inconvenience, but it's a problem when it's ours. Yeah, these things affect our state. So what do? We expand background checks. We focus more on the purchasing process. We look at the red flag issues. We talked about mental health earlier. If we know that somebody's experiencing mental health, then we need to make sure that guns aren't winding up in their hands. We think about things like banning assault style weapons. The weapons you use when you were obviously deployed, when you jumped out of a C-140 or whatever it was, Huey, it doesn't matter, Southeast Asia, wherever you were, let's make sure that those guns don't wind up on the streets of our state, particularly Alabama. So these are just simple things. We could talk about 3D printing. We could talk about ways in which we get into what we call ERPOs, et cetera. But these are simple things that we could do to make sure that we minimize that gun violence in Alabama.
Well, we need to do something. Of course, some of these solutions, that's a start. But of course, a guy who determined to get a weapon will get one. I mean, he'll get one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we understand that, but
you make it hard. You don't make it easy for people. You make it
right. Now you're going to be a Democrat if you make it up there. You're going to be a Democrat. You're going to be a Democrat with a whole bunch of people that are on the right side of the aisle. How do you work with them? How do you convince them to listen to you?
If you go to TikTok, one of the some of the views, that 200,000 views of some of my videos, but on one of the interviews, you'll see that I start off by saying I'm not running to be the Democrat over Alabama. I'm running to be the governor of Alabama. No description there. All right. So I'm just going to be very specific as it relates to my future opponent. When I become the nominee on the Democratic platform, the Republican presumptive nominee believes that there is no hope in trying to unify with the left. Now, he's already telling you that there is no hope. I believe the opposite. I believe that we can all work together by coming to the table, addressing not just kitchen table issues, but doing what I just did with gun violence. Talk about what we agree on, and then try our best to come to solutions that help people over the party. That's what we have to do in terms of being in Alabama. I recognize that there is a possibility, unless there's a blue wave, which would be awesome, that I could be working with the supermajority that is red. That is why I don't try to talk or act in a polarizing manner. I recognize I'm not going in to fight 50% of the state. I'm going in to say I'm fighting for the whole state of Alabama, Republicans, independents, and Democrats. I'm very careful and cautious in everything I do, not because I'm ashamed that I'm a Democrat. I'm fully aware of who I am. But once I become governor, I'm for all people. I'm for everyone in the state. And that's how you work together across the aisle. Be more of a listener than a person who tries to speak. Don't go in trying to change policy with a sledgehammer when you could just go in with the toothbrush, a paintbrush, and fix a few things here or there. I'm going to bring in major changes. Believe me, things like Medicaid haven't been embraced in Alabama. But when I talk to numbers, people believe me. For example, Medicaid. When you ask a Republican or ask our current governor why we haven't expanded Medicaid right now, some local television stations have done it, or at least reached out and haven't received an answer after interviewing me. You have to ask yourself, sir, why is it that it would take just a $22.8 million investment and we can get a $394 million return? We could actually have over 300,000 people that have health care just like that. Let me jump you over to Georgia for just a second. I don't necessarily call myself a fan of the Republican Governor Brian Kemp, but they partially expanded Medicaid to people who are 100% above the poverty level. That alone helped thousands of people have access to Medicaid. So you can see where we can work together for the people and bring about the much needed change in Alabama. But us just sitting in our separate corners, fighting each other, throwing darts at each other, that doesn't work in Alabama. Yeah. People are hurting.
Let me tell you why they said, and it made sense to me when they said it, but then somebody else came back to me and said, well, gave me a different perspective. And I said, well, okay, I mean, they were saying, if the government says, we're going to give you $100 every year to hire three people, but after the fifth year, we're only going to give you $50.
That's the way the federal government using works on almost everything, including grants.
Yeah. Right. So what happens? Okay, what happens when the fifth year comes, and now you're down to half the money that the federal government said they're going to give you, but you still have to put all these people on Medicaid and Medicare. So what's going to happen when we cannot afford when the government money is over? So do all those people who now get Medicaid or whatever they're getting, now they won't be getting it because we can't afford it anymore.
Here's the interesting point, and this is what I teach, even talking to Republicans. Right now, let's make it very, very simple. Alabama needs to invest $228 million to expand Medicaid in Alabama. The federal government, under the Affordable Care Act, will pay 90% of the $228 million. That's how I arrived at $22.8 million being invested. So let's just say policy changes, and it will in 2026. To your point, you use 50%. The 90% is gone now. Even if we invested 228 and we're getting 394 million back, $2 billion a year, we're seeing 300,000 people covered. We're seeing 20,000 plus new jobs created. I can go on. The positives outweigh the negatives. We get more of a return on the investment, even if we're investing 100%. Again, making it simple. If I told you, you give me $228, I'll give you $394 back. Who wouldn't take up that offer? So it's not that, I know that's what people tell you, but it's not true. It's right now we can spend 10% to 22.8 and get 394 and all the benefits I mentioned. Even if we went partial in this, many hundreds of thousands of people are still able to be taken care of.
Well, and I think somebody came back. Matter of fact, it was a Republican. Somebody came to me and said, well, even if we do lose the money, the people that we could have served for those 3-5 years, some of them won't need the Medicaid because whatever illnesses they may have had, whatever.
That's right.
We could have probably fixed some of those by now with the money. Yeah, because it made rational sense to me. Well, why take on a debt that you know you can't pay?
Right.
But again, you can help people while you got. Listen, we got to go. Well, you know, now you're a good Democrat. So I'm gonna cut you some slack on that.
Democrat,
right? Okay. you still got
you shoot at me today. You shoot at me today. Watch out.
But you still got some issues. But listen, all the people want me like everybody else. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but I like the Republican philosophy. But I'm like Gandhi. Gandhi said, I like Christianity, but I ain't too crazy about some of them Christians. Okay. So I'm about the same with them as Gandhi was, Christian. But
Dr. talk about the fact that finding something you hate and people you love, and the people you love something you hate. So we have to understand that happens. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is good. And you're brave. You probably didn't know I wasn't a Democrat, did you? Did you think I was a Democrat?
Oh, definitely not. No.
Okay.
I'm here, right? I'm not scared to talk to you. I talk to anybody, sir. This is what we need, more discussion about what we believe, even if they're in different places.
Yeah, because I ain't a Republican either. I'm more of I'm more of a moderate libertarian.
I understand.
Yeah, moderate libertarian, but because the Democrats are not always wrong, and the Republicans are not always right, and vice versa.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. As a proud Democrat, I agree wholeheartedly with you. And again, that's what we need, more people like you who will not just go in blindly and choose because of a letter. Straight ticket voting in Alabama is what's hurting us. I think we have to go in and say, let's look at the person. Let's look at the policy. Let's look at what we believe and see which one is better of the two.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Dr. Boyd, I appreciate you. And you preach down. What part of Alabama you preach in?
Actually preach up. Actually Florence, Alabama is where I pastor St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church. My name's on historical marker, but I've served them. It will be 12 years this December 8th. St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church. It was founded in 1859 by some say freed slaves working with some Caucasians, some white people. So we've had a history in Alabama of working together. And I believe it's time to do it again at the state level in our legislature and elect the first African-American governor. I've never said that before. I always talk about being afraid of embracing change. I've talked about people being afraid of, even this weekend, I went to an event, believe it or not, where people were concerned whether or not Alabama was ready for a person of color. I believe we have to stop, as we talked about, being willing to look at Republican, independent, again, libertarian, Democrat ideas. I think we have to look at the policy, what the person says they're going to do, and not the color of their skin, the content of their character, again, as that great man said, in order to move forward. But I'm also the presiding bishop of Zion Ministries and some other works. But please check me out. Visit drwillboyd.com. They can find out the official bio is there. But most importantly, I would love if people would donate to my campaign. We have about 700 volunteers that are working all around the state. These are people who want change. Most of my donors, believe it or not, are Republicans and independents, and even new voters between 18 and 29 who want to see change. So thank you for allowing me to be on your show today.
Thank you for coming in, Dr. Boyd. Appreciate it. We will see you on the trail.
I will. I'll invite you to the governor's mansion to help me figure this out.
I appreciate it.
Take
And
care,
I certainly will be there. I'll be right back. Okay, I know I had to go. I had to go for a little bit there, but I'm back. Okay, listen, I got an appointment this morning. I had sat there for a long time. I needed to get up from there. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation I had with him. Now he's a good Democrat, though. He is a Democrat. He's not trying to get away from it, and I appreciate that. Listen, you either believe in something or you fall for anything. Okay, so let me see. I got who did I get there right there? Nobody. Okay, so let me see here now. So let me get ready to get out of here because I got things to do, places to go. Got to go see an old man because he needs me to come see him, and he's like 97, I think. Is he 97? Yeah, he's 97 years old. So I got to go by and see him and make sure he is doing okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, and like I always say every day, not the fall that gives you strength. It is the getting up every time you do. I thank Dr. Will Board for coming on, and we'll have other candidates. As a matter of fact, my understanding that Jamel Brown may be here tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if he wants to come up here or not. But hey, I'll treat him fair. I'll treat him the same way I treated the other guy. We'll be back, but the other guy was a little smarter than I was. I don't want to make me look bad. Have a great day. Time to go to work.